these transgender women will need to attain an exemption letter at the conscription center in order to skip military service.
Listen, Donald Trump just said, Nick, if you between the ages of 18 and 24, I hope you ready slide. I hope you ready been on something, because we doing an automatic draft. Yeah, we take care of our troops. We take care. You might die, but we don't have many deaths per year. You feel me?
We need to get active on this topic right here. Now, I will say, if you're a first-time listener to this channel, this is not a political-focused channel, but I do cover topics that deeply impact men, women, gender dynamics, relationships. And I find it also interesting that of women that carry this my body, my choice in reference to their reproductive rights and decisions, when it comes to men and this topic regarding draft, they are quiet as a church mouse. For the draft, and especially automatic draft registration, it is his body, but not his choice. The very contrast within this point is really just separated by gender, for you have different duties, different expectations, different sexes, yet the burden is not evenly discussed. So we got to get active on this one. Title of the video I'm about to go through is the U.S. to begin automatic draft registration in December. Now, this is more of a news review, but before we go there, let's go to TikTok and see some of the initial reactions in regards to this story. Let's go.
What the hell do you mean we are all going to be automatically registered to the military draft? The government literally just announced that in December, all men ages 18 to 25 will be automatically registered for the military draft. Like, what? Like, gang, is this even legal? Whatever happened to consent? Like, I'd rather have my homie crack me 1 billion times than go fight a war for these billionaires I don't got nothing to do with.
Okay, hold on a second there, young man. I want you to recant that statement. Why on earth would you be thinking about your homie cracking your cheeks deeply through your back end orifice in this comparison, okay? I think my mind goes to I'd rather do time in jail than to go abroad. So I don't know why your mind went there, and I want you to put some baby oil on them goddamn knuckles. Them things are absurd, young man.
I don't got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And people on Cashapp are putting bread that the U.S. oil prices are just gonna keep rising. Like, bro, I swear we can't have nothing. What the hell do you mean we are all gonna be automatically registered to the military draft?
This young man who looks like he was punching powdered donuts before he gave us this TikTok is absolutely correct. When men sign up to vote, they register. But with this, they are registering even though they don't have the ability to vote. I think every politician that votes this in, male or female, their children, their offspring, should be first in line. Let's send the aristocrats to automatically sign up to go fight these billionaire wars instead of the common man.
If I ever get drafted, I am not going. I am not going. A conscientious objector, if that doesn't work, I'll just fucking eat the prison sentence. Like, yeah, that. I think they're on crack if they think they could actually draft anyone in the United States that's Gen Z. Also, I'm on the later. If you're 20, you're first to go. The way draft would work is if you're 20 years old, you would be the first drafted. They go 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 19, 18. So they go 20 to 25, and then they jump back if they get through everybody.
Now, this right here seems to be the general sentiment of early Gen Zs and Gen As, that they are more than willing to take jail sentences than to be drafted. What we're watching is old teenagers and young men realizing in real time that they were disposable or cannon fodder since birth.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. The federal government's preparing to begin automatically registering eligible U.S. men ages 18 to 26 for the military draft pool. The U.S. hasn't had a draft since 1973, but it still maintains a registry of eligible men in case the draft is restored. The new rules around automatic military draft registration were tucked into the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act. In early March, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt did not rule out President Trump reinstating the draft itself. She was questioned by Fox News host Maria Bartiromo.
Mothers out there are worried that we're going to have a draft, that they're going to see their sons get in and daughters get involved in this. What do you want to say about the president's plans for troops on the ground? As we know, it's been largely an air campaign up until now.
Yeah.
It has been, and it will continue to be, and President Trump wisely does not remove options off of the table.
We're joined now by Edward Hasbrook, organizer with the Anti-Draft Coalition, which opposes the plan for automatic registrations, calling for repeal of the Military Selective Service Act. Editor and publisher of Resistors.info. He is a member of the War Resisters League and the Military Law Task Force of the National Lawyers Guild. His recent piece for Responsible Statecraft is headlined, "Even if Team Trump wanted a military draft would be a fiasco," unquote. In the 1980s, Hasbrook publicly refused to register for the draft and spent 6 months in prison. Can you talk, Edward, about what has changed? What is this draft registry that the Trump administration is bringing back?
Well, since 1980, men have been supposed to register with the Selective Service System within 30 days of their 18th birthday and tell Selective Service within 10 days every time they move until they reach age 26. Very few people do. The efforts to enforce that against a handful of public non-registrants whose public statements could be used to convict us collapsed in the early 1980s. Nobody has been prosecuted in decades. But in the face of growing pressure to recognize the failure of Selective Service and the unavailability of a draft, instead, to save their jobs, the Selective Service System came up with a plan, which they managed to sneak through Congress last year, to give Selective Service a second chance to try to register potential draftees automatically. Now, that won't work because the federal government doesn't have the data they need, but it will produce a database that's highly vulnerable to misuse and weaponization. And even more importantly, it will continue to prop up the myth that the draft is available as a fallback, which in turn enables continued planning for larger, longer wars without war planners having to think about whether enough people would be willing to fight them.
Why do you write that to activate the draft would be a fiasco?
Well, in order to figure out who's supposed to register, the government would need to know current addresses, which they don't have. You don't have to report to the government when you move. They would have to figure out sex as assigned at birth, which is the criteria for eligibility for the draft, which isn't reflected in current records in many cases that show current gender. They'd need to know the names and mailing addresses of every immigrant, including undocumented immigrants who clearly aren't included in current federal databases. So they wouldn't have a database that's either accurate or complete. And in addition, they would have the same problems enforcing an actual draft that they had when they tried to enforce registration back in the 1980s, which are that they could only prosecute people if they could prove that their refusal was knowing and willful, which meant they first had to track them down and provably notify them, which they could do in a handful of cases for show trials, but it didn't really scale. And the reason they abandoned the enforcement of draft registration back in the 1980s was that the prosecutions backfired, and young people got the message that there was safety in silence and safety in numbers. And it's that continued quiet but persistent, nonviolent, non-cooperation by young people that has been one of the greatest successes of the peace movement and of nonviolent direct action in past decades that has prevented a draft. We should thank young people for their service in reining in military expansionism.
Shortly.
Effectively, what he's saying is that, listen, it was tough in the 80s and it was tough to enforce it in the 80s. It's going to be damn near impossible to try to enforce it en masse today, and especially when the young people have so much access to information that is not governed by the system or the governments that be. But in response to combat this, they're sneaking something in order to enable the data collection process, which should make it easier should they need to enable the draft. I think that any sane country within this day and age, unless they bring the fight to you and where you live you should not need to enable a draft. And that's why so many are panicking, because they may be signed up for something that they don't even agree with. Let's finish this one up.
After Trump's inauguration, DOJ was sent in and given access to the current Selective Service Registration database. What's the relationship between the Selective Service system and immigration enforcement?
Well, even before putting in place this plan for automatic draft registration, which will take effect in December, unless in the meantime, in this crucial year, we can get the Selective Service Repeal Act, which will be reintroduced probably quite shortly in Congress. If we can't get that enacted, the change will take effect in December. But what that will do is it will give Selective Service unprecedented power to obtain from any other federal agency any information they think might help them identify or locate potential draftees. Now, even before that took effect, at the end of last year, the Selective Service did give notice that they will be turning over their existing registration list for immigration enforcement and other purposes. And once it goes to DOJ, we don't know what those other purposes are, but given the information in the database, it's particularly likely to be weaponized for other purposes against vulnerable trans and immigrant youth.
And finally, if you don't have a draft, how does it end up? It's poor people who go into the military because they need the financial support, and that's who ends up fighting U.S. wars. We have 30 seconds.
I think the important thing is to take the draft off the table, remove it from the arsenal of war planning, which, by forcing the government to confront the question before they make wars of whether enough people will fight them, actually constrains wars before they happen, as opposed to fighting an anti-war movement after they're on.
And also, let's be clear, the drafting in itself is just not a U.S. thing. This version of this conscription that exists all over the world. We have just been privileged enough where it's been off of the table for most of our lifetimes. So let's go to another portion in the world. We're going to head over to Thailand to see what it looks like when the draft is not just theoretical. Thai men show emotional highs and lows during annual military draft draw. Why he fold like that, though? What? What the what is going on here? What in the zest is happening in Thailand? Oh, the young man over there is cooked, baby. Let's see how the monk handles this. Okay, all right. Copyright. Wait, hold on. Oh, why they keep what? Okay, what is what did I just click on? Are they happy or are they sad? I'm confused what's happening here. Black, red, what? Okay. Hold on. Sheesh. Is there any testosterone left in Thailand? Maybe the military is what they need over there, baby. Okay, let's see. All right, still copyright. Okay. Okay, what the, you know what this might be? Because of the ladyboy epidemic that is happening over there, perhaps they're taking off the the majority of them taking off the makeup, and then they're entering into what this draft lottery system is. Thais seeking exemption from the 2025 military draft turned heads as usual. Okay. Copyright. Okay. Thailand is carrying out its military conscription draft from April 1st to April 12th. Okay. All eligible males are required to show up at the conscription center. Oh shit, I was right. This includes those who have undergone gender reassignment surgery but are still listed as male in official documents. Oh, wow. Absenteeism on registration day can be punishable with a jail term of up to 3 years. Okay. This is these transgender women will need to attain an exemption letter at the conscription center in order to skip military service. Okay. Oh, I just took a look up. Let's keep going. Hello. Ooh, what's going on here? Yeah, it seems as though that just claiming that you're a woman over there in Thailand don't mean shit. At least the same shit as what it means in the States. I'm just glad we got some explanation of that first video. I was confused what was happening, baby. After recruiting volunteers, the shortfall will be made up of males who will show up at the military conscription center for a lottery-style draft. Okay. Where you either leave really happy, okay, or pissed. Yeah. That's a man, baby. Them shoulders a little bit too perpendicular to the ground, you heard?
That's a huge bitch. That's a huge bitch.
Man, that's a transformer if I didn't ever see one, you heard?
That's a huge bitch.
All right, but let's continue to get back serious. Matter of fact, let's head back over to TikTok to see more of what people are saying.
Listen, Donald Trump just said, nigga, if you between the ages of 18 and 24, I hope you ready slide. I hope you ready been on something, because we doing an automatic draft. Yeah. You like being an American citizen, right? You thought this shit was all fun and games. You thought this shit was thorough. Yeah, get your ass on that front line. You a get busy boy now. All that sliding, all that providing you thought you was doing in the street, jump your ass into the though, and get you some benefits too though. We gonna hook you up. Don't get it fucked up. Yeah. We take care of our troops. We take care. You might die, but we don't have many deaths per year. You might you feel me? You might gotta clap somebody.
Keep picking his nose.
It's for our rights. It's our country. You feel me? So yeah, if you ain't ready, get ready. You feel me? But if you between the ages of 18 and 24, you on a chopping block for the automatic draft. The only exclusion...
I can't take the nose picking. I cannot believe videos like this have 148,000 likes. Let's go see what some of the ladies have to say.
If this applied to me, I would choose jail, to be honest, because I refuse to fight for some shit that I don't agree with. With that said, there's already specific requirements for the selective service. Young men are already required to sign up to be drafted, but this would just automate the process under the veil that they're trying to save money. But we all know what they're doing. They're trying to make sure that they have all hands on deck because we have effectively isolated ourselves as a nation and some shit is about to go down. And I hope that the MAGA men who are 18 to 25 are prioritized in this because it only makes logical sense for you to be the first to fight for the causes that you support. And I don't think people are going to take this seriously until their sons and their nephews begin getting those letters in the mail regarding their start date in the United States military. Let's look back to Vietnam and how the draft lasted for over 9 years and how approximately 1.7 million men were drafted into war. Arguably, we are in a worse political climate now than we were then. So who's to know how many American men are going to have to fight and ultimately die for causes that are incredibly unnecessary and insanely unpopular? The impeachment and removal process needs to be initiated immediately because I don't see how this benefits anyone. I bet Barron Trump's ass won't be on them front lines, but your nephews, your cousins, and your sons will. Is it worth it?
Now, I get components of her point, but the fact is that even before the automatic draft, men were still being registered into the selective service, okay? And most men, even if they voted MAGA, do not want to go to war. But the fact remains that if war is brought to the United States, right, and a draft is necessary, these men cannot say my body, my choice, as they will be what is necessary to protect your freedom, the freedom that everybody here enjoys.
Because currently, as it stands under law, only men are subject to forced military conscription. It's 2025. Women have had the vote for over 100 years. I think that they should be subject to forced military conscription. I mean, you would have to agree, given you're a feminist, that this would be equality between men and women. Mm-hmm. You're shaking your head. Why is that?
Because we're not as strong as men are, and we birth kids and we birth. So that's a big thing that we do. You were born because of a woman. Like you wouldn't be here without a woman.
Our country would lose if women ran.
I disagree. Women can absolutely. Now, I don't think women should be involved in frontline combat.
You would not.
But women can be part of the war effort.
For sure.
So you can be in the kitchen, in the military. You can be doing administration work. You can be doing whatever the support roles. Women are capable of doing those things.
I think it should be a choice for women.
Why should it have to be a choice for the women?
Our duties is to literally raise civilization.
You don't, but it's not a duty.
It is, unless you want crackheads running around motherless.
Well, hold on. It's not a duty in the same way that men have a duty. So, for example, can women in the United States be forced against their will to have children?
Well, I don't know in what states this law is where you get raped and you have to keep your kid. But women do have to, in some states they do.
That's not a comparison.
No, it is.
No, because then the entailment would have to be that the government forces women to be
That's how I read it. Because why would I have to keep a kid?
They scream "My body, my choice," but when the topic of the draft comes out, suddenly they want a choice in that too. Clearly a double standard, but continues to show that women want equal rights and equal voice. But when it comes to the difficult, the hard jobs, the hard duties, they still expect men to carry that weight. If you want to be considered to be completely equal and want equal say, well, then you're going to need to sign up for equal duties. And that's the feminist in me, okay? I'm a feminist, guys. But let us not forget that 50 or so years ago was the last draft, okay, for the Vietnam War. Let's listen to a Vietnam vet recount his experience.
They were going to draw for the draft, for the lottery for the draft. So we all gathered around in one room in a motel and was watching, and my number came out. It was number 24. And there was a letter from the President of the United States, Richard M. Nixon. You have been selected. And Mother asked me if I was, scared or nervous. And I said, oh, no, not too bad. Quite frankly, inside, I was excited. It was my opportunity to give back to my country. I had watched others through the years talk about somebody was gone to the Army or they're back from the Army. And to me, it was a common thing. Everybody should do it. Yeah. I don't think today everybody should do it, quite frankly. You should have a desire. I'm okay with the volunteer Army, but I was excited to get that letter to go.
I think it's easier to be excited for something when media controls the propaganda of what it is that you're doing or what it is that you might be signing up for, as opposed to nowadays having so much decentralized media and active war footage in order to demonstrate the true brutality of war or the reality of war. But shout out and much respect to this man and the time that he served within the country. And it was just interesting to see him tear up as he explained that.
The draft is coming back in December. Not quite. I am sure you have seen post after post from creator after creator saying automatic registration for the draft is starting in December of this year. Everybody panic. And it's not time to panic, because automatic registration for the draft does not mean they are actively conscripting young men into the Army. The only thing that is actually going to happen is that a manual process is going to be automated. Right now, males between the ages of 18 and 25 are required to register for selective service. And the last time the United States had an active military draft or conscription was back during the Vietnam War in 1973. Actively requiring a draft or calling people up through a draft would need to be done via an act of Congress. This change, this automation of registration, is actually based on a rule change from 2025. This is not new. We just have a date for it now. So everybody take a breath. The draft is not restarting. The process to register for selective service, however, is changing and will become automated. That's it.
So are people panicking for no reason? Is this a setup for something much bigger? Is this just a big misunderstanding? Guys, I'm going to end the video right here because that's what I want the comments to detail. Down below in the comment box, what is it that you think about all of this that is happening? But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey here today. I can't wait to see your comments, and I can't wait to see you guys soon. All right. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Stay safe out there and protect yourself at all times. Until next time. Peace.
So, without further ado, MTR, cut through the BS like we in charge. No cap with the rappers like steel bars. I'm packing and rapping like here we are. Mediocre tutorial reviews. Like, comment, share my views. Come up and I paid my dues. Big step in my black way shoes. MTR, he break it down, yeah, it's MTR. Check out the sound with his MTR. No one put it down like it's MTR.